When this topic was suggested to me, FDI and capital investment, I laughed. Can you imagine talking about foreign direct investment in the present context? And I was wondering, what on earth do I actually say? Our stock market was closed last week. Foreign direct investment is near nil. The country is bankrupt. Historically, the maximum we would probably get is $1.5 billion, once we got very close to 2. We actually need, if you want to see this country advance, we need about $5 billion a year. This is not the emergency money that we need to get over the present crisis, but actually to see the economy grow and boom. How do we actually get this? We missed the first revolution, second revolution, third revolution. The fourth revolution is the information technology revolution. And the next one people are already talking about is the innovative and the robotics revolution, the fifth. But let's at least get on the fourth revolution. Sri Lanka has two very distinct advantages. One is locational, and the other is human resources. The locational advantage, and I was very interested in listening to Deepika speak, is really the logistics, the supply chain, and all the connectivity, east-west routes, access to the Indian subcontinent as a market. This is our advantage. Other countries have understood this, and we need to make most of it. The next big advantage we have is we're a small country with 22 million people. 2 cities in India have that population. 2 cities in China have that population. So I think we need to focus on our students. Every student in this country needs a higher education. It can be university, it can be professional, it can be technical, it can be information technology. Over the next few years, we will have a shift from hard infrastructure to soft infrastructure because we have limited resources and we need to use these limited resources very, very wisely. We have a crisis. Professor Amal Kumarage of the University of Moratuwa had written an article last week. He said we have a crisis. All politicians are corrupt. Government officials can't deliver. You didn't escape. Big business exploits. So they say the state must stay involved. Educated and the professionals look after themselves. And the list went on and on and on about the crisis that we face by the professor writing in the University of Moratuwa. But if I put it in short, it is a homemade crisis if you look at all these issues. And that is why I like to be optimistic like some of the speakers that were here. It's the darkest hour, but the light shines brightest in darkness. And that's why I want to be optimistic. It is a homemade crisis. We can turn it around. We have the confidence. Sajid Premadasa's philosophy is not, I can solve it. People sometimes come in and think, that one big person will just appear on the scene and all the problems can be resolved. We have left that philosophy behind us. Our philosophy is, it's a complex problem. It needs lots of heads and lots of brains. We need a team, and that we need a team. Not just in Parliament. We need a team outside Parliament also who actually backs the team in Parliament. That's the way that we have to go forward. When you talk of investment, you have something called country risk. Our problem is really country risk. Sri Lanka, by any scale, in any index, is very high on the risk. The investor puts his money by looking at all the markets that are open to him. Sri Lanka's country risk is too high. It's so high, and the country risk, it depends on the rule of law. In this country, let's admit it, the rule of law doesn't work. No politician or no high official has been convicted by a Sri Lankan court. But just last year only, 2 US courts had 2 convictions. One was relating to a Yabas transaction, and the other was relating to Mr. Zuberi, a central bank transaction. One was in the British court, one was in the other court. The Sri Lankan ambassador, former ambassador, basically has gone and pleaded guilty and will be sentenced in a few weeks' time. What's going on? These are convictions in foreign courts. of high official transactions in this country. Country risk means that your justice system has to work. What else is he looking for the investor? He is looking that he can freely repatriate his investment and his profits back. No guarantee at the moment because the country is bankrupt and the dollars are not available. We have to change this. We are high on the corruption index, low on the competitiveness index, low on the innovative index. We need to look at all these indexes. Now I will not go into the details today. Therefore, what is the way forward? And I would like to conclude with a few thoughts on the way forward. We need political stability, a system stability, and we are very conscious of it. And that is why we have acted responsibly, even in this crisis, allowing the present Sri Lankan government to go for its conversations with the IMF and succeed. And that's how we have acted as an opposition. We need an independent judiciary. What happens? The Attorney General has a conflict of interest. Under one government, cases are instituted, and when the government changes, the cases are withdrawn. What's really going on here? The Attorney General is the lawyer for the government of the day. He has a conflict of interest. Therefore, he doesn't pursue those who need to be pursued. So we will have an independent prosecutor's office. We are not going to get people just plainly get away with these things. When the first highway was built, 1 kilometer cost $7 million. In the last transaction, which was publicized very widely in this country, 1 kilometer was going to cost $70 million. You are hearing me clearly. $7 million on the southern highway, and on the central highway, $70 million on 1 kilometer. We have to put this right. We are going to put it right. We have lots of issues with corruption. We are going to bring in amendments to the Asset and Liability Declaration. We are already working on it. We are not waiting till we take office. We are working on these laws. We are going to have an independent SEABOC. A new law has already been worked on. As the leader Sajid Premadasa said, we are working on another law to regain the proceeds of crime. It won't happen overnight. It takes a few years by international experience, but we are working on the law now so that we will recover everything they have said. මේක ඇල සිංහලෙන්ම කියන්න ඕනේ. හොරකම වංචාව දූෂණයට අපි තිත තියන්න ක්‍රියා කරනවා. අපි දැනටම නීති සම්පාදනය කරගෙන ගිහිල්ලා තියෙනවා. වත්කම් බැරකම් ප්‍රසිද්ධ කරන්නට ඕනේ. ඒකේ දෙකක් නැහැ. ඒ නීති අපි දැනටමත් හදාගෙන තිබෙන්නේ. ඒ වගේම දූෂණ විරෝධී කමිෂන් සභාව ස්වාධීන කරන්නට යනවා. ඒකට අපි දූෂණය කරන අයට නඩු දානකොට ඒක නීතිපති දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවෙන් නෙමෙයි ස්වාධීන කාර්යාලයකින් ඒක කරන්නට යන්නේ. ඒ වගේම හොරකම් කරලා පිටරටවල් වල පවා සංගවාගෙන තිබෙන ඒ වත්කම් බැරකම් ලබා ගන්නේ නීතිය අපි දැනටමත් ඒ නීතියත් හදාගෙන යනවා. අපි ඉන්නේ නැහැ අපි ආණ්ඩු බලය ගන්නකම්. අපි දැම්මම මේව හදාගෙන යන්නේ ආණ්ඩු බලය ගත්තේ දවසට පළවෙනි දවසේ ඉඳලම මේක ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න අපි ඒ දේ කරගෙන යනවා. The central bank of the country has to be independent. We have seen from what our experience in the recent past, a new law has already been drafted in 2019 with the central bank and the Ministry of Finance. We will bring that law. Dr. Samarakon was involved in that, and it's already drafted. We will bring that law to make the central bank independent. The central bank's primary responsibility. What is its primary responsibility? Financial sector stability and price control. We will do a lot of other things. But I know you have been patient. You have stayed here long. And I don't want to keep you any longer than the time I was given. But to all who are listening to us overseas, across the world, I want to say this to you. There has been a long debate in this country whether Sri Lankans living overseas, are they an asset or are they a liability? Because of the war, sometimes you were wrongly labeled. And I want to tell you, Sri Lankans living overseas, This is your country. SJB looks at you as an asset to this country. You have education, you have the skills, you have the dollars and the pounds, and we are inviting you back to invest in this country. This is your country. Sajid Premadasa, and we have no other country to go. We have no other citizenships. This is our country. We need your help to rebuild this country, and therefore you're going to be welcome here. The first generation Sri Lankans who went overseas, you have a connection in this country. All boys, all girls network, law college, medical college, accountancy, banking, you name it, networks. But I say even to the second generation, your children who have been born in those countries, your parents belonged here. You are in those countries. You are welcome here as well. You are networked in those countries. You have yourselves in the businesses and in the professions of those countries. Not like your parents. You can add a lot too. You can bring the investment. You can bring the networks to this country. You are welcome too. We are going to make sure that the legal environment in this country will welcome you back into this country to come and invest and be a part of the growth story of this country, so that this country will be taken not in the South Asian League, but that we will be able to push our country into the top of the Southeast Asian League.